Hello everyone, Michelle here, and we're back to the Myst series. I've recorded the prior Myst game, which was the new and updated version of Real Myst, back in January when Wander was sick, but now I'm finally getting around to Riven and the rest of the series. So this will be Riven. Riven was released a couple years after Myst, and it took, I think, a group of like 20 artists and programmers about 4 some years to work this out, and they really wanted to make this a big and ambitious project with the success of Myst. So they just decided to continue their adventures in these wondrous worlds, and of the Myst series, Riven, Exile, and Revelation, once again, I've probably mentioned this before, are my absolute favorites, and part of it is because of the artistry that they put into it, and I believe the 3 are also much longer than the original, so this one should last a little while. But let's get started.
Thank God you've returned. I need your help. There's a great deal of history that you should know, but I'm afraid that I must continue my writing. Here. Most of what you'll need to know is in there. Keep it well hidden. For all reasons you'll discover, I can't send you to Riven with a way out. But I can give you this. It appears to be a linking book back here to Dunny. But it's actually a one-man prison. You'll need it, I'm afraid, to capture Gehn. Once you've found Catherine, signal me, and I'll come with a linking book to bring us back. There's also a chance, if this all goes well, that I might be able to get you back to the place that you came from.
Right, Riven. Oh, great. Looks like Gehn was prepared for us. We link into Riven to capture his father, who has abducted Catherine, and we're in bars. Wait, someone's there? Seems to be waiting for someone. Oh.
줘? Feriaje. Cacaware po. Amo do we po me po. Tagema. Rekoak. Tagema. Basura ko. Wisirapo. Wisirapo. Umutika bukuanai. Wisirapo. Umutika bukuanai.
Wait, he wants something from me?
Wisirapo. Bukuanai. Bukuanai. Bukuanai.
Hey! Hey! Hey, my book! Hey, don't touch that, or you'll be locked in there forever. What? He was hit by something? Oh no. Someone's dragging him away. Is there anything I can do? Doesn't look like it. It's just a stagnant cutscene. More steps? Oh, the assassin. He's going to release us? Oh. Well, now we can move. Looks like we can't inspect that. I think he jammed... Oh, there we are. Oh, and that's the Moiety dagger. He must be part of the rebels. Oh, I can look... Is he dead? So there's some subterfuge afloat. And that looks like I'll need a code of some sort. Looks like I can't do anything to that. And what's this? Oh, it's a journal regarding Riven. All right. So maybe I'll read this for you guys. So let's see what's in here. Oh. Okay. They held for more than 30 years, but the corrections I made to Riven have finally failed. The island has resumed the familiar pattern of decay that is the hallmark of my father's work. I must now race to implement this new patch before it's too late. I only hope that my revised theories are sound. So, just some backstory. Atrus and his father Gehn are descendants of the Gehn people who crafted the art of writing and were able to create links, portals to other worlds through linking books. And the art of writing is a very fickle thing. You have to be able to use the correct inks, the correct prose and description in order to create a world. And Gehn wasn't very patient. He wanted to create places that he could use for his own ends, and he cared very little for the people that sprung up in these new worlds and fancied himself a god, whereas Atrus believes that when you write a linking book, you're merely opening one of many possibilities, which is why in the previous game, when we had the crystal viewer, and he mentioned that there were like minute changes that you could make and it would seem to change the world, it's because there are different states and it's just another possibility. So just infinite possibilities. And his father's worlds, the ones that he attempted to write, never really functioned well. When I was describing the maintainer suits earlier, made by the Gehn people, they actually used those suits to enter worlds in the instance that they were unstable and potentially fatal. So Riven, it seems, the world that we're standing in right now, has the potential to fall apart. And because Gehn has captured Catherine, maybe he's hoping to use him as collateral against Atrus to get him to fix his world for him. Okay, the next entry. Revisions to Riven completed. There are still a number of minor adjustments which need to be made, but the basic corrections have been entered and should be working. But something's not right. I've been monitoring the instruments for several hours now, but have thus far observed no change. It's possible that I've made an error. Though I checked my entry against my prenotation and can find no discrepancy, I've not had rest in nearly 3 days, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it. If the fault is within my foundational assumptions, however, perhaps after a short rest, I will see something. Success! It appears that my repairs have been effective after all. The gateway image has been noticeably clear, and although it is impossible to know this with absolute certainty, the island seems to have quieted itself. Just a few more weeks of work, and I should be free, at last, to go there myself and attempt to bring Catherine back. The past 8 months have left me little time to think, to devise a strategy for getting her out of there. I've received no sign from her in all that time, and I'm afraid that... No. I must assume that she is all right, lest my fears undermine my efforts to bring her back. And to preface this, when Atrus fell in love with Catherine, who was actually native to this age, Riven, Gehn was going on some crusade to make himself a god to his people and to force Atrus's hand, and Atrus realized just how cruel and evil his father was. And in a fissure in the world, he allowed Catherine to enter the Age of Myst, which Catherine and his grandmother Tiana had written to create a safe haven for themselves. So the first game, when we see Atrus falling through the stars, it's because he had left Riven and used the linking book to get to Myst, thus preventing his father from being able to follow. So Gehn's been trapped on Riven for a good 20-some years, maybe even longer, and he wants a way out. And I suppose Catherine was lured to Riven, and yeah, now she's being held. Okay. I did not create the Age of Riven. Unlike my father, I have never presumed to have such power, and yet the future of all those who live there has fallen into my hands. So far, I've managed to read the pages before it turns. The island continues to appear stable, and I would like to believe that I have saved a dying world, but the theories of one individual cannot support the lives of real people indefinitely. I must get everyone off of Riven as soon as possible. The problem now is Gehn. I'll never be able to rescue Catherine and relocate the islanders if he is still the man he once was. I haven't seen him in over 30 years. Oh wow, well that answers my question there. But his history forces me to assume that he is still a threat. His myopic mission to restore the Denise civilization has left too many innocent cultures dying in its wake, and would continue to do so, were he to once again be free of the confines of Riven, or the Fifth Age, as he coldly titled it. Oh yeah, Gehn also just gives his world's numbers. He doesn't actually give them names. And the number 5 actually pops up a lot throughout this game. 5 is actually sort of like the base number for the Denis writing system, or the number system. And we'll actually learn more about the Denis numbers later on. I know that I've memorized at least, I would say, the first 5 to 10 characters, and it gets more complicated because they're all assembled in squares and they rotate as you get up into higher numbers. Okay. The universe has been safe from his corruptive influence for the last 33 years, because no one has been able to leave that age, the last linking book out of Riven having been lost in the star fissure upon my return to Myst. That was my intention, to maroon my father on Riven by removing all of the existing links to other worlds. And since the art of constructing books had long been lost with the fall of the Denis, he would be trapped there for the remainder of his lifetime, and effectively segregated from the countless other worlds that he would have invaded. Oh, that's another thing I remember. So unlike Catherine and Tiana and Atrus, Gehn actually never really developed his own worlds. What he did was he took parts and pieces of writing and text from existing linking books and linking worlds, And he sort of made a mishmash of what he wanted for himself, but that's part of the reason why there's such an instability. Taking parts from all these other wholes doesn't create a better finished product. In effect, that is what we achieved, but in the way it fell, however, was no one's ideal. Though the sting of the incident has gradually faded from my memory, the deep pain of responsibility for what actually came to be has never left me. At the time, it all seemed so clear. Gehn's destructive path could not be allowed to continue. But it was never my choice that the innocent inhabitants of Riven, who had already suffered so much, would be the ones to pay for it. Enough. To dwell on the past is to die in the present. The situation is not the same as it was then. The knowledge I've acquired in the years since that time has yet to be applied to this problem. I think I have the solution. Why it did not occur to me sooner, I do not know, unless the idea of it had been pushed out with the thought of my sons. A prison book. Yeah, his sons were actually trapped in prison books, so maybe now he's considering trapping his father with the book that he gave to us that's now in the hands of the rebels, potentially, of the Moiety. A prison book. Many years ago, during a hunting expedition through the ruins of Denis, I chanced upon a formula for a most unusual type of book. Unfortunately, due to the fact that my father was then in the habit of confiscating my discoveries, I was forced to leave it behind. Years later, however, as part of my efforts to protect the vulnerable worlds linked to the books in my library, I was pleased to find that I could still recall most of the formula, and with little experimentation, quickly succeeded in creating one of these devices myself. The procedure is actually quite simple. By altering key lines of the text but slightly, a normal linking book's connection can be partially severed, such that anyone who attempts to use the book will be permanently trapped in the dark void of the link. That is, unless someone else then uses the book, at which point that person would become trapped and the first person displaced back into the world. And those were actually the bad endings of the first game. If you had actually tried to free Cirrus or Akinar, you would be the one trapped. The technique can be applied to books that have already been written, changes to the original text being so slight that anyone who is unfamiliar with the code will be unable to detect them. If indeed my father has not changed, what better bait would there be than a book that appeared to be a link back here to Denis? Trouble. Oop. It likes to flip. My nightly analysis of the island's condition has revealed that the tremors have begun again. The pattern, however, is new. The disturbances are the result of the changes that I have made. This is not, at first, concern to me. Oh, this did not at first concern me. However, tremors of this type were one of the possible side effects that I had anticipated during this initial phase of the island's readjustment. Still, in order to verify my assumptions, I decided to calculate again, incorporating the new data. The results were not what I expected. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I realized. I can no longer go to Riven as planned. Catherine, forgive me. I must act while I still have the time. The signs are barely visible, but there is no question that the island's deterioration is accelerating. Total collapse is imminent unless I can keep ahead, and that is becoming increasingly difficult to do. With every passing moment, I gain a clearer picture of the incredible chaos that my father's economy of words has yielded. But his dismaying process, the complexity of the problem is overwhelming. There is no end to this. The last few days have all but convinced me that the collapse of Riven is inevitable, and that, at best, I can only strive to delay it now, and hope that at some point the island will become stable enough to risk a rescue attempt. I think I've come up with a way to subdue the tremors. It will require my exclusive attention for at least a month or two, so it may be necessary to discontinue these journal entries for a while. Something truly miraculous has happened. Beyond all conceivable probability, someone has finally found my lost Myst linking book and has freed me from this prison. That's us. Woohoo! The stranger. I immediately realized that this could be the solution to my dilemma, and I believe my mysterious benefactor is willing to assist me. I'm still not sure it can work. The logistics of such a scheme are formidable, but the mere fact that it may now be possible for me to continue my repairs to Riven and yet proceed with my original intent to find Catherine has given me renewed hope. The last few days have left me little time to work out the remaining problems with sending someone else to Riven. It did occur to me, however, that if a way could be found to signal me once Gehn had been captured, it would no longer be necessary to make a real linking book to Riven and risk the possibility of inadvertently releasing Gehn. The deteriorated state of the gateway images make the use of a visual signal impossible, but the picture remains a reliable indicator of Riven's condition nonetheless. By measuring and interpreting variations of the noise patterns, I'm still able to observe basic changes that occur in the age, even though I cannot see them. The problem is that my instruments can only detect changes that occur on a fundamental level, and it seems unlikely that an individual could affect such an elementary change from within an age. The idea may be foolish. Still, there is a known weakness that may be worth investigating, an anomaly that appears as a rift between two separate systems, the star fissure. But how, or even if, this fact could be exploited, I cannot say. Sending someone to Riven also means that once I receive the signal that they were ready to return, I would have to leave my writing in order to take a real linking book there myself. However, providing my father is safely out of the way, this should take very little time. After that, assuming the island does not incur much damage in my absence, it should then be a relatively simple matter to hold it together long enough for Catherine to return to Riven and evacuate the remaining islanders. Predetermining a signal without knowing the topography of the island may prove to be impossible, but I'm afraid there can only be one answer to the question of whether or not I should send my friend to Riven with a way out. The potential for failure will be greatly diminished if the prison book is all that is taken there. I am sure my father is expecting me to bring a linking book to Riven. May he not be disappointed. All right. And that's all for the journal entry. Okay. Now, I believe that this is the star fissure, but it's not open. And there's another image of the dagger. Well, there seems to be a tram system. Yep, the body's still there. I think if you come back, it's gone. So maybe he's only temporarily knocked out? Can't be certain. Oh, this is pretty. Oh, these scarab beetles. Oh, so this is Gehn. And he has the book over his head and a halo. So, yeah, the people worship him. And these were actually the images that were originally printed on the discs. Yep, and there's the number 5 on his medallion. Oh, interesting. They actually have it here that he created the fissure and incurred his wrath and actually sent Atrus with his books down into the stars. Atrus willingly threw himself down there, though, but of course he would try to make a better depiction of himself. So this is probably Gehn and like teaching them like the art of writing and how to make paper from trees. All right. So these are like lumber mills, and they're churning out the trees to make the books. And they worship the books. And here they're showing how Gehn could create worlds. I mean, here's people, animals, sea life, plants, the moon and stars. And this is all in Denis. I wonder if that says... No. My Denis is very, very rusty. I'd like to be able to translate all these. Now, from what I remember, oh, that's a really pretty building. Seems to be covered in a metallic material, but I won't be able to reach it yet. Oh, and there's the stars. Now I think we can actually potentially turn the whole structure doing this. Oh, oh, there it goes. Oh, but it only provides a peephole. It shows how the gate changes to a different position. So ultimately, we might have to find a different path to go from another direction so that we'll be able to enter the gate that leads to the large building. Yep, that's the building one again. And is this the original orientation? No, it's a new one. So one door is always open and the other door is always gated. So what we need to do is we need to be able to come out one entrance and go out another from a different vantage point. But we might not be able to find the other path until later. I mean, there is the staircase there. There's also this across. Let's keep going. Doesn't seem to be anything. Oh! Ah, but it's locked. And there's another Moiety dagger. Oh, we can climb under it? Crawl under it, I should say. Oh, this is the other way. Well, let's see what we can do. Now that we have a surefire way to get this, let's see what happens when we switch up the doors. Now, I believe that side may have been a solid wall. So let's see what this does. Oh, there seems to be a door over there. I'll take a look. Crawling under. Oh yes, we're allowed in. And we're allowed into a different chamber that I don't recall seeing before. Oh, that's the way out. But this is somewhere new. And there's another button. And a gate lever or something. Does that give, like, power or steam? Let's see what that does. It seems to be lifting a gate or something. Let's take a look. Oh, and we can't look at it while it's spinning. Can't really see anything from this perspective. Ah, but this door is closed. Well, let's spin it again. Then we'll be able to see what happens. That just looks like the path out. And that goes to the open door again. Maybe I need to use the lever on the side of the door. Well, that's the way out. I mean, maybe that changed. Oops. Nope. Here we go. Let's change that. Because that one lever must have lifted a gate of some sort. Oh, no. It didn't. Maybe I'll flip it around so that we get the other door, just to see what happens. And of course it'll be interesting to see what we encounter, at least in regards to the potential rebel faction. They have their daggers situated everywhere. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Also, another thing I want to point out, because of how low res this version of the game is. Wait, is that a new path? Oh, but this gate's closed too. Oh, but it has its own door. I wonder if that opened up the one to the gold area. Ah, the other chamber. Yeah, we're slowly opening up all the gates. So now maybe we have to find a way to the outside again, and then find our way into the gold region. That goes back out that way. Still wonder where these doors behind us lead, or if they're... Yeah, because that looks pretty solid. Wait, this goes back to that chamber? Well, maybe I'm supposed to go from this perspective. Another stone passage. I almost wonder if lifting the levers opens one path but excludes you from another. Let's try this one more time. Oh, and this takes us back outside. And there was no button on this side. Nah, there's no button on this side. Please. It is. We did it. And there's knee written all over the side of this building. Oh, wow. Oh, we made it.